Okay, they're good whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the January 26th, 2021 meeting of the City of West Palm Beach Historic Preservation Board. Can we please begin with a roll call?
Amanda Skyer.
Here.
Kristen Kellogg. Kristen Kellogg. She's here. Dan Pickme. Gabriel Jaroslavsky.
Here.
Ken Breslauer.
Here.
Reginald Stanbaugh.
Here.
Nick Casatley.
Here.
Keith Williams. Let the record reflect that Keith Williams is not present.
Thank you. We now move on.
And Hope, I'm here.
Oh. Thank you, Ms. Kellogg. We now move on to approval of the minutes from the December 16th, 2020 meeting. Do we have any changes to the meeting minutes as presented? Seeing none, can we please have a motion to approve?
I approve the board I move the board to approve the meetings of the December meeting minutes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. We now move on to the report of the Historic Preservation Planner.
Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. Frederique Mettner, City Historic Preservation Planner. Since your last board meeting in mid-December, staff has reviewed 121 permit applications for historic and completed 54 zoning reviews. And as you'll see in this evening's presentation, we have a lot of designations that are moving forward, as well as for next month. So we've been busy trying to schedule that for City Commission as well. Thank you.
Thank you. We now move on to remarks by the chairperson, and because this is a virtual meeting, there's a lengthy script I need to read, so if you'll please bear with me. Pursuant to Executive Order number 20-69 issued by the Office of Governor Ron DeSantis on March 20th, 2020, and Mayor Keith A. James's Executive Order number 2020-05 issued on April 2nd, 2020, the City of West Palm Beach's boards and committees are conducting meetings through media technology and have released the requirements to have a quorum of its members physically present at City Hall. On April 14, 2020, Mayor Keith A. James issued Executive Order number 2020-09, which specifically provides the rules of procedure for conducting city meetings, including requirements for quasi-judicial hearings. The members of this board appearing remotely were just read during the call to order. To ensure the ability for the public to continue to participate in this public hearing, it is being streamed live and available for viewing in the City Commission chambers located at City Center, 401 Clematis Street, providing that social distancing is required. Additionally, for those wishing to access the meeting remotely, they are able to do so through the applicable Zoom webinar link, as well as the city's usual media channels, including WPB-TV 18, the city's website, and the city's YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter feeds. Anyone from the public who would like to provide comment on an agenda item is able to do so through the following methods: by visiting City Center Flagler Gallery, by dialing 561-320-3872 and leaving a voicemail not to exceed 3 minutes, by sending an email or video recording to hpbpubliccomment@wpb.org, or by completing the online public comment form at www.wpb.org/public comments. Those accessing the meeting directly through Zoom may also use the chat or raise hand features. Anyone using only their phone may raise their hand by pressing *9. Regardless of method, please be sure to indicate the agenda number or case number for which you are providing comment. Everyone providing testimony this evening will be sworn in and must have video capability. We will do so at the start of each case on the agenda. If you are about to provide testimony and were not sworn in, please be sure to indicate such and be sworn in accordingly. After the applicant presents their case, staff will provide a presentation, and then the public will have an opportunity to speak or have their comments read into the record from previously received correspondence. The board will then go into executive session. Prior to rendering a decision, the board will confirm no additional public comments have been received by staff. We now need to let you know, as members of this board, if we've had any communications outside of tonight's meeting. So we will lead in with a declaration of ex parte communications.
Gabe Jaroslavsky, no ex parte communication.
Kristen Kellogg, no.
Breslau, no ex parte communication.
Kristen Kellogg, no ex parte communication.
Nick Casatli, no ex parte communication.
Reginald Sambo, no ex parte communication.
Were we able to hear Mr. Pickney? I think there might be something wrong with his microphone. Mr. Pickney, do you also have a phone that's dialed in? It sounds like there's another device.
Yeah, he's logged in twice.
Can you log out of one of those devices, please? So we don't have the feedback.
Madam Chair, if I can interject this, I wasn't sure if you voted on the approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Okay, thank you. So I will give my declaration. So I have spoken with Ms. Mittner about the cases on tonight's agenda, but I can base my decisions based on the evidence presented. So we'll now return to approval of the agenda to tonight's meeting. Are there any changes to the agenda as presented?
No, Madam Chair, not from staff. I just want to point out to anyone who's perhaps here for 323 Westminster Place that was withdrawn by the applicant's request.
Okay, thank you. Any changes by members of the board? Okay, can we please have a motion to approve?
I move to approve tonight's Historic Preservation Board agenda.
Give a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. We now move on to the public comment portion of our meeting. If you would like to speak on an item that is not on tonight's agenda, to address a topic that will not be discussed as part of the agenda, now is the time to do so. Do we have any public comment?
Madam Chair, I'm not aware of anyone for non-agenda items.
Okay, so we will go ahead and move forward with the approval of the consent cases, and then we will swear in our first presenters of 1220 North Sapodilla Avenue. So there are two cases on the consent agenda this evening. Can we please have a motion to approve?
I move the board to approve consent cases included in tonight's agenda.
Second the motion.
Was that a second? Yes. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. If you are case number 21-07, 446 37th Street, or case number 20-77, 2018 Florida Avenue, your project has been approved. Thank you. So we'll now move on to continued cases. Case number 20-71, 1220 North Sapodilla Avenue. Is there anyone that needs to be sworn in for this?
No, Madam Chair, this is just for informational purposes, and Aaron Borngraber will give you an update on that.
Okay.
Good evening, board. Aaron Borngraber, Historic Preservation Planner. The 1220 North Sapodilla was approved at the last month's meeting for demolition, and Gina Baker, the CRA project manager for that project, I was looking at the numbers about potentially moving the Pine Ridge Sundries building, which is on the very corner, to another part of that property. They're still waiting to get numbers. So I believe they will be back next month with, if that is an option that they can go with.
Okay, thank you for the update. We now move on to new business, case number 21-01, which is the Northwood Hills Historic District resurvey. Can we please swear in our speakers? If you will be speaking, is there anyone else that will be speaking other than staff on this?
I have Bob Ballou added to the
Great, thank you.
panels.
Mr. Blue, if you would unmute yourself, please.
There I am.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be truthful?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. Typically, the applicant begins with the presentation, but would you like the city staff to begin, Mr. Ballou?
Please do. Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Borngraber?
All right, this is for the redesignation of Northwood Hills Historic District. Here we have the Northwood Hills is highlighted in white. This was a neighborhood association initiated request to resurvey the historic district to determine if any structures have changed status from contributing to non-contributing. So a little bit about the original historic district. When it was passed in 2003, there was 426 contributing properties, 166 non-contributing properties, and 19 vacant lots. The image on the left is just something I found in the Palm Beach Post, of which is a beautiful contributing structure. For the updated historic district, working with the neighborhood association, we identified 807 historic resources. A total of 681 of those resources will be contributing in their structures, 94 non-contributing structures, 30 vacant lots, 2 other properties. One's a public park, the other is a playground for a daycare. 153 structures are proposed to go from non-contributing to contributing, and 58 structures and properties are being proposed to go from non-contributing, contributing to non-contributing, or they weren't identified previously. And then the historic district boundaries are to remain the same. So staff worked with the Northwood Hills Neighborhood Association, which created a committee, surveyed the properties, photographed all the properties and structures. There's a total of 856 photographs that were provided in your packet as a contact sheet. Over the summer, we had 3 Zoom meetings to discuss building status, whether they're contributing and non-contributing. And at the November 17th neighborhood meeting, staff attended via Zoom to just go over the resurvey. We used the Esri's Collector app, which is on the left. It allowed for the neighborhood to add data points, which would be for the properties, and then upload a photo as well as fill out additional forms. And this was based on the Florida Master Site File form, which is to your right. A public notice was sent out on December 3rd, identifying the date of the Historic Preservation Board meeting, the request, the proposed changes, if a structure was going from non-contributing to contributing, and then another separate list for a structure that was going from non-contributing, contributing to non-contributing, or was not previously identified. So on the left, we just have an aerial of the Northwood Hills area in 1969. And on the right, we have 3 properties, which were all built by the same builder and architect in 1956. And these are roughly located right here. The next several slides will just be a list of the updated structures and properties for the non-contributing and then followed by the contributing. The photo on the right will just be of the first primary address. In this case, 816 29th Street is just a vacant lot. 936 36th Street is new construction. 3710 Greenwood Avenue is another new construction. And then this is the list of updated structures that are proposed to go contributing. And on the right, we have 804 29th Street, 803 31st Street, 923 33rd Street, 840 36th Street, 804 39th Court with a lovely carport, 3236 Greenwood Avenue. The recent past is becoming historic. So these are structures that were built in the 50s, the 60s, and into 1970, 1971. So the rest of the 70s will become historic slowly. And Palm Beach County, but especially West Palm Beach, did have a population growth in the 50s, did slow down into the 60s, but obviously picked back up. So this housing reflects the changes of urban development after the post-war, after World War II, and then as that transitioned outside of that era. These are just two images from the Aladdin's Home catalog, just illustrating the mid-century era, the post-war era of housing. And staff has reviewed the criteria for designation, and it does meet the criteria for criteria A and C, as well as these three historic preservation element policies listed below within the historic preservation element of the comprehensive plan. And after this meeting, staff will work on a March 8th City Commission date for first reading and March 22nd for second reading, as well as notifying property owners within the Northwood Hills Historic District and within 500 feet, as well as creating new Florida Master Site File forms and updating the existing forms once everything has been completed. Staff is recommending approval of historic preservation case number 2101. There is specific language in your packet if the board does recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of staff? Well, it's always exciting to learn about new resources that have gained in significance now that they're older and to see them protected. So I think this is a very worthwhile endeavor, and thank you to everyone who participated in surveying. It takes a while and a lot of attention to detail.
Yes, just to add to that, it's exciting that so many people came together to make this happen.
Mr. Ballou, is there anything you would like to add?
I just want to say that, I'm very appreciative of the historic preservation staff, Aaron and Frederick, very good to work with. Interestingly enough, I was one of the people who helped on the original survey work back in 2003. So will have lived in Northwood Hills for 20 years. So it's nice to see some really positive changes coming along. And it's always interesting, and I mentioned this to Aaron and Frederick, you drive through your neighborhood every day and you don't really see things until you actually take the time to walk down the sidewalk and you look at each structure and you take a look at the roof, and it's interesting how many houses you rediscover. So it was a very positive experience, and obviously we fully support it, and we look forward to going to City Commission.
Wonderful. Well, again, thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
Well, do we have any further questions? Do we have any members of the public that wish to speak on this case?
Madam Chair, nobody has expressed interest.
Okay. Seeing that this is a slam dunk, I think, for everyone involved, we'll move on to the executive session. And would someone like to make a motion for approval?
I will. This cause came to be heard on the January 26, 2021 at a public hearing before the City of West Palm Beach Historic Preservation Board on the application of the City of West Palm Beach for the redesignation of Northwood Hills as a historic district under Ordinance 4926-21. The board, upon reviewing the report and recommendation of the historic preservation planner and hearing testimony from the public on such application, makes the following findings of fact. 1. Northwood Hills Historic District is historically significant for its association with events which contributed to the broad patterns of our history, particularly the residential development of West Palm Beach. 2. The Northwood Hills Historic District has a concentration of historically and architecturally significant residential structures with a period of significance that extends from 1925 to 1971. 3, Northwood Hills Historic District has a distinctive terrain and street pattern. 4, Northwood Hills Historic District is identified with a land boom period 1920 to 1928, the Great Depression era 1929 to 1940, the World War II and post-war period 1941 to 1971. 5, the loss of buildings or structures within the Northwood Hills Historic District would be irreparable to the city.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on to case number 21-02, the Temple Beth Israel, now known as the Yeckes Family Chapel. We could please swear in our speakers.
Mr. Yeckes, can you unmute yourself? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be truthful?
I do.
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Again, Mr. Yeckes, would you like to say anything to start the presentation, or would you like staff to make the presentation?
Well, I thought I'd give you a little background. That
Sure.
This building was moved about a mile away from where it resides now. And it was really an honor to do it because it was the first synagogue, conservative synagogue in West Palm Beach. And for many years it had gone unattended. It went through a series of churches and other uses. But by the time I saw it and examined it, it was full of homeless people and rodents and things like that. The original building was built without bathrooms, with no air conditioning, with very little built-in power of any kind. So when we moved it, the job was to restore the building and to keep its best representation of the way it was, while at the same time modernizing it to make sure it had air conditioning and power and things like that. I have to tell you that I got into quite an argument with some of the congregants because they wanted to face the building toward our existing synagogue. And I pushed hard to face it to the street because that was the way it was originally sited. And so the building sits right opposite the gate, right to the street. It can be seen as you go by. And it was faithfully restored, other than to put in impact windows and a new roof and stained glass and things like that, which only added to the charm. The reason it's named the Yeckes Chapel is that my father passed away in 1993, and the family wanted to put a name on a building, and so my mother donated the money to restore it. The original owner, WCI Properties, donated the money to move it. So it sits there now. It's a nice chapel. We have a very large chapel on the other side of the property, and this one is a much more sort of charming little chapel. It seats about 75. We even have capability of showing movies in there and so forth. So it was pretty successful restoration, and I'm honored to have been the architect.
Thank you so much for sharing that background. It's such a great, I think, success story for historic preservation, that this building was saved and was relocated to a place where it could be enjoyed by an existing congregation and keeping that continuity.
Thank you.
And thank you for your efforts as the architect.
Thank you.
Mr. Borngraber?
Yep. Let me bring up the presentation. So this is for individual designation of the Temple Beth Israel, which is now known as the Yeckes Family Chapel at 2814 Poinsettia Avenue. Here we have the project location. What's highlighted in red is the actual property, and then what's with the yellow box is the actual structure that is being designated tonight. So this is city initiated designation of the Temple Beth Israel. which was previously at 2020 Broward Avenue. And this designation does not include the sanctuary or any other properties structures on the property. And the main property is 2815 North Flagler Drive. This is the public notice that was sent out. A little bit about the history. It was originally designated at its Broward Avenue location in 2005. In 2012, it was moved. Here's a photo of it being moved from the Palm Beach Post. And in 2014 and 2015, rehab work was being done, as indicated in these posts in the small caption from the Palm Beach Post. These are just photos of the outside. On the left is from the Poinsettia Avenue, which is the west main elevation. On the top right is the north elevation, and on the bottom right is the south elevation. These are two interior photos. On the left is facing east, and then on the right is facing west towards Poinsettia. And staff has reviewed the criteria for designation, and this meets criteria A and B, as well as the 3 historic preservation element policies listed below, which are found in the historic preservation element of the comprehensive plan. So next steps after this would be getting on the commission agenda for March 8th for the first reading, and then March 22nd for the second reading, as well as updating the existing Board of Master Site file form. And staff is recommending approval of Historic Preservation Board case number 2102. Thank you.
Questions of staff? Well, I have to interject here before we vote on this, Mr. Yuckes. Is there any chance that we could designate I think is it the Freed Sanctuary?
I'd have to talk to the board of directors, which I am on, and some of the congregants to get you that. I can't say that or represent that myself. It's a board, not-for-profit institution, and we need to talk about that. I can tell you that Freed Sanctuary is a beautiful piece of structure, and I would hate to see anyone do anything to it. So I would be in favor of it.
And for those who are on this meeting who are not familiar with the building, it's actually designed by Alfred Browning Parker, who was a very significant Florida architect in the modernism movement. And he has really done some incredible work. And if you haven't been inside of that building, please take the time to do so. It's not only a pleasure to be inside of and experience services in, but it's also, I think, very important to the skyline of West Palm Beach, and I can't imagine it not being there. So I hope, Mr. Yuckes, you will pursue that.
I will.
Great. Do we have any members of the public that wish to speak on this case?
Madam Chair, no one's expressed interest in speaking now.
Okay, thank you. We'll go into executive session. Again, I think pretty straightforward. Would anyone like to make the motion?
I go for it. This case came to be heard on January 26, 2021 at a public hearing before the City of West Palm Beach Historic Preservation Board on the application of a city's historic preservation planner for the designation of Temple Beth Israel, located at 2814 Poinsettia Avenue as a historic structure under ordinance number 4927-21. The board, upon reviewing the report and recommendation of a historic preservation planner and hearing testimony from the public on such application, makes the following findings of fact. 1, the subject building is a historically significant structure which is of a high importance. It was constructed in 1922 to 24, or over 99 years ago. 2, the subject building is associated with the development of West Palm Beach as a diverse community with a variety of religious, educational, and governmental resources. 3, the subject building is the oldest Jewish synagogue in Palm Beach County. 4, the subject building is associated with the land boom period in West Palm Beach, 1920 to 1928. 5, the subject building is associated with prominent members of the business and civic community of West Palm Beach, including Max Sirkin, Joseph Mendel, and Julius Lux. 6, the subject building was built by the local construction firm of Newland and Stephens. 7, the loss of the subject building to the city would be significant.
I'd like to second the motion, and in so doing, I also wanted to note for the record that the Green family of Green's Pharmacy, they attended that original temple. Robert Green is a renowned local orthopedic surgeon, now retired. His son is also a surgeon now here in Palm Beach County and West Palm Beach. So they're also a noted prominent family for paragraph 5.
Thank you for adding that, Mr. Sambaugh. It's great to hear all of the backgrounds of the stories, the backgrounds of the families involved in the creation of that temple. It just adds to its significance. So we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. We look forward to hearing from you, Mr. Yuckes, about the Free Sanctuary.
Yes. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to case number 21-03, the William Olhaber House.
Okay, that's everyone I have. Tiffany just joined.
You unmute yourself, Ms. Carone, and raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be truthful?
Yes.
I do.
Okay. Mr. Borngraber, would you like to begin with the presentation or?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Here, case number 2103 for an individual designation of the William Olhaber House at 215 Pilgrim Road. Here we have the project location highlighted in red. And just so the board is aware, the Bel Air Historic District is this parcel right here where the new construction is currently, as well as extending south. So this is for designating this property, which was formerly located in the Bel Air Historic District at 205 Pilgrim Road. This was the public notice that was sent out. And a part of the Historic Preservation Board approval, if condition number 6, while it is small, was that if the property structures were moved to the parcel to the west, the board asked the city to designate the properties. On the left is a photo from 2014, before it was moved at its previous location, and on the right is a photo from last year showing the structure in its current condition. Staff has reviewed the criteria for designation and it complies with criteria A, B, and C, as well as the 3 historic preservation elements below that are found within the comprehensive plan. So next steps would be a March 8th first hearing for City Commission, as well as a March 22nd for second reading at City Commission, updating the existing Florida Master Site File form, and staff is recommending approval of historic preservation case number 2103. And on the right is just an ad from 1946 of William Olhaber selling the house, or at least trying to sell the house at that time. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of staff? Do you mind returning to that aerial that you had at the beginning of the presentation?
Absolutely.
So, okay, so that property located directly to the east of the subject property, so that's a new construction that did not come before the historic board.
That was a new construction that went before the board. I believe it was in 2019
Okay.
it went to the board, and Frederic was the case manager for that.
Okay. I clearly did not remember. Well, I'm just remembering when this originally came to us, the goal was to create, I think, a larger garden for the property owner fronting Flagler, correct?
I'll defer to Frederic for that.
Okay.
Yes, Madam Chair, you are remembering that correctly. There was a lot of iterations. Actually, the applicant wanted to demolish, then the applicant wanted to move the house to Lake Worth, all to create a larger garden. And so what has ended up happening is they have constructed a brand new house on Flagler, a guest house on Pilgrim that did go to the board and received approval. And then they have entered into a preservation agreement from a landscaping standpoint for the banyan trees on the north side that technically have a Puritan Road address. So we were able to get some dedicated green space and preserve the banyan trees on the north side of the lot.
All in all, I think a good outcome.
Yes.
Okay, well, great. And then Ms. Caron, did you want to add anything?
No, I just was observing. I don't have any objection.
Okay, well, thank you for tuning in and participating. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any further questions of staff? Do you have any members of the public that wish to comment on this case?
Madam Chair, no one has expressed interest in speaking.
Okay, thank you. Can we have a motion to approve, please?
This case came to be heard on January 26, 2021 at a public hearing before the City of West Palm Beach Historic Preservation Board on the application of the city's historic preservation planner for the designation of the William Olhaver House located at 215 Pilgrim Road as a historic property under ordinance number 49-29-21. The board, upon reviewing the report and recommendation of the historic preservation planner and hearing testimony from the public on such application, makes the following findings of fact. 1, the subject property is a historically significant property, which is of high importance. The primary structure was constructed in 1924, over 97 years ago. The accessory structure was constructed circa 1925, or 96 years ago. 2, the subject building is associated with the land boom period in West Palm Beach, 1920 to 1928. 3, the subject property is associated with William Olhaver, an architect from Chicago and developer, developed the Bel Air tract. 4, the subject property is designed by architect William Olhaver. The 5, loss of the subject buildings to the city would be significant.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much, Ms. Crone, for becoming the newest steward of this property. It's certainly very important to the Bel Air Historic District, and we're so thrilled that it was able to be saved and restored. So I hope you enjoy living there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to case number 21-04, 911 8th Street.
Okay, that should be everybody. Christopher just joined.
Unmute yourself, Mr. Bocci or Bob.
I'm here.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be truthful.
Yes.
I do.
Hey, sir, I don't want to butcher your last name. How do you pronounce it?
H.
H. I wouldn't have, yeah, I totally would have done that. So, Mr. Bates, would you like to proceed with a presentation?
I'll let staff.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Frederic Mettner, City Historic Preservation Planner, presenting case 21-04 for new construction at 911 8th Street. As you can see, it's a vacant lot on the north side of 8th Street between Tamarind Avenue and Douglas Avenue in the Northwest Historic District, both on the local and national register of historic places. This is a site plan showing the proposed one-story residence proposed on the lot, as you can see, is very compatible in terms of front setback to the adjoining properties. This is the vacant lot. And then this is in context, the front-facing gables on either side, one a contributing, one a non-contributing multifamily. This is the proposed single-family house of 1,686 square feet and the front elevation. And as you can see, they have also included a photo montage where, again, the majority of homes on this north side are front-facing gable. These are the side elevations. And the floor plan, it actually is a 5-bedroom home, so that's quite generous. And we have reviewed it for the additional compatibility criteria as well as the Secretary of the Interior standards, specifically standards 9 and 10. We do believe they meet those. And unfortunately, I have not had an opportunity to review these 2 recommendations or the recommended conditions with Christopher. The first one is just that the stone that's proposed, is it painted white or be a rough brick or stone in a natural light color, because that's more prevalent in the district than a darker stone. And the second one is actually a zoning requirement that the driveway shall be reduced to the maximum 20-foot total width per code, and that 1,000 square feet of the front yard is green space, again, a zoning condition.
That's
so
fine.
Okay, great. So we are recommending approval. We think this will be a great addition to the Northwest neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions of staff? Okay, seeing none. Is there anything you would like to add?
No, I think we got it all covered.
Great. Do we have any comments from the public?
I'm not aware of any.
Yeah, Madam Chair, nobody's expressed interest.
Okay. We'll move into an executive session. Can we please have a motion?
I move that the Historic Preservation Board approve application number 21-4 for new construction in accordance with the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation, specifically standards 9 and 10, as well as the additional compatibility criteria set forth in the Historic Preservation Ordinance, Section 94-49 of the City Zoning and Land Development Regulations. This motion is based on the testimony presented, along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitute competent, substantial evidence. In addition, the approval of this request is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and/or safeguards, which I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the Historic Preservation Ordinance and the Historic Preservation element of the Comprehensive Plan of the City of West Palm Beach, the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation, specifically standards 9 and 10, criteria set forth in the Historic Preservation Ordinance, Section 94-49 of the city's zoning and land development regulations. Following conditions shall apply for approval. The proposed stone shall be painted white or be rough brick or stone in a natural light color. And secondly, the driveway shall be reduced to the maximum 20-foot total width per code, and confirm that 1,000 square feet of landscaping is present in the front yard.
Give a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, and good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Our next case, which was 21-05323 Westminster Place, was withdrawn. So we now move on to our final case of the evening, case number 21-06 811 7th Street.
That should be everybody. Mr. Smith just joined the meeting.
Mr. Smith, can you unmute yourself and raise your right hand, please? Unmute yourself.
There it goes.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be truthful?
Yes.
Mr. Smith, would you like to begin with your presentation?
I would let staff.
Okay. Mr. Borngraber?
Okay. So this is case number 2106 for a variance for a side setback on each side, as well as a cumulative setback, as well as new construction of a single-family house at 811 7th Street. This is the project location highlighted in red, right at this property right here. Request tonight, side setback for each side and cumulative setback for construction of a single-family house, which is 1 story and approximately 1,379 square feet on a 25-foot wide lot recorded by Palm Beach County on or before October 20th, 1981. The setbacks that are being proposed would be a 4-foot setback on the west and east side, as well as an 8-foot cumulative, so the west and east side, to allow for the construction of the single-family house, which is on a legal lot of record, and this property is located within the Northwest Historic District. This is the existing site from the street. On the left, we have the adjacent property to the west, and on the right, we have the adjacent properties to the east. The house is on its own property, as well as there's another 25-foot wide lot roughly in this area right here. On the left, we have the survey of the lot. In the middle, we have the proposed site plan, and on the right, we have the roof plan, and north is facing up. This is the proposed floor plan, indicating the floor plan of the structure. I also have the window schedule listed below. The drawings and everything illustrate that they're going to be casement, but a product approval that was submitted was actually for single hung windows. This is the south elevation, which is on 7th Street, with the drawing of the elevation as well as a rendering below. So this will have a multi-light paired casement with a hip-on-hip roof with the front porch, which the French door there currently is proposed to have 4 lights and 4 panels. This is the north elevation in the rear, so it continues the hip-on-hip portion. There's also a rear porch that is open at the rear. This is the west elevation, which has a number of multi-light windows. This is the east elevation, which has a number of multi-light windows as well as a paired window. Hardy board is being proposed for the siding, as well as asphalt shingles for the roof. This is the street elevation, while very small. Most of the structures within the street elevation requirements. There's a couple 2 stories, a couple single stories. At the very far end on the east, there's an apartment building across the street, which is purple. So there's definitely a wide range of structures on this in the immediate area. These are the variance standards found in the zoning code in 9438.6, and does comply with all 10 standards. It also complies with the Historic Preservation Ordinance and Secretary Interior Standards 9 and 10, which are the review criteria for new construction. And staff is recommending approval of Historic Preservation Case number 2106, as it does, based on the findings of the petition, meet 10 of the 10 variance standards found in 9438D6 of the zoning and land development regulations, and with conditions. The first is which the project shall comply with all downtown master plan requirements. South elevation front porch shall have a reduced massing with wood columns and header. South elevation front porch shall have an aluminum or wood railing instead of vinyl railings. The siding shall be hardy board smooth or similar with a bevel or channel bevel profile. Windows shall have an appearance of a sash window with a 3/1 light pattern with a 4-inch wide mullion for all paired windows. And 6, the materials for construction shall be sourced locally within 500 miles first before extending the range. 7, the applicant shall use 2 of the following green measures on the property: rain barrel cisterns. pillar panels for the rear third only of the roof, and or all hardscape shall be permeable, example turf block. The reason for the last two conditions is there's a special exception review which allows additional lot coverage, and the only qualification was green building standards, and you have to go above and beyond what the minimum building standards for the building code and injury code. And as none were proposed, staff is proposing in order to ensure compliance with that requirement. And in your packet, there is specific language to read for the variance.
Okay, thank you. Questions of staff?
This may not be too relevant, but the code listed in one of the sheets is the 2017 Florida Building Code, 6th edition, which I am not sure that the new code was adopted already by the city of West Palm Beach. They were supposed to be adopted on January 1st, I believe. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. Another comment is regarding the window material. The window schedule doesn't say which material, but the submitted NOA shows aluminum, so we are assuming that it's an aluminum window, right?
To address the window comments, as it is new construction, aluminum and vinyl are both acceptable materials for that. And as for the building code, I will have to, Frederic is looking into that, I believe, right now. We'll make sure it complies with any applicable changes if there is an update in the building code.
And these conditions, I don't think that they were included in our package. So does the owner or the applicant agrees with these conditions?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Do we have any members of the public who would like to speak?
Madam Chair, no one has expressed interest in speaking.
And Mr. Smith, before we move into executive session, is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, just wanted to say thanks for the hard work from the historic staff and also the commission for allowing this opportunity.
Thank you. So we'll move into executive session. Someone like to make a motion?
Excuse me, Madam Chair. Just so you know, the specific language for granting the variance, I know you can't actually read that, is towards the end of the packet for this case. It starts with granting the variance, and then it'll be including the language, if the board does grant the variance, read only if the conditions are proposed.
Okay. Any discussion?
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion granting the variance with the conditions as proposed. I move that the Historic Preservation Board grant application number 21-06, request by LeVay Smith on behalf of Yeavel Construction for variance from section 94-84 subsection 2D and section 94-84 subsection 2E1 of the zoning and land development regulations, which requires a primary structure of meet a side, each side, cumulative side setback requirement of 5 feet 0 inches each and 15 feet 0 inches respectively in the historic multifamily low, medium, and high density context 1 NWD-R-C1 Northwest Neighborhood District Sub-District at 811 7th Street. The applicant is requesting a 4-foot side west side, 4-foot side east side, in an 8-foot cumulative west and east side setback, allowing for construction of single family house, thus granting a 1-foot side west side, 1-foot side east side, and an 8-foot cumulative west and east side setback variance. Motion is based upon the testimony presented along with the application submitted in the staff report, which constitute competent substantial evidence. The Historic Preservation Board hereby makes findings of fact that each of the 10 criteria in Article 2, Section 94-38D, subsection 6 have been met for the variance. In addition, the granting of this variance is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and/or safeguards that I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the zoning and land development regulations and consistent with the comprehensive plan of the city of West Palm Beach. Project shall comply with all downtown master plan DMP requirements. The south elevation front porch shall have a reduced massing with wood columns and header. The south elevation front porch shall have aluminum or wood railings instead of vinyl railings. The siding shall be hardy board, smooth or similar, with a bevel or channel bevel profile. The windows shall have the appearance of a sash window with a 3-to-1 light pattern with a 4-inch wide mullion for all paired windows. The materials for construction shall be sourced locally, that is within 500 miles first before extending the range. The applicant shall use 2 of the following green measures on the property: rain barrels / cistern, solar panels, which is rear third only, and/or all hardscape shall be permeable, as an example, turf block.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Good luck with your project.
Thank you very much.
And with that, I believe we have addressed everything on the agenda this evening.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just wanted to apologize for being late. Just before the meeting, we received a call that I finally, after much effort, received an appointment for a vaccination. So I apologize to you and the board.
I'm glad to hear that. No need for apologies.
Thank you.
And hopefully for Carol as well.
Yes,
Good. Good.
thank you.
Okay, with that, can we please have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn tonight's Historic Preservation Board meeting.
Who was second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 6:01. Pretty good.
Yeah, very
Thank you
good.
all.
Thank you all.
Next month.
Wonderful night.
Thank you.